What we're going to do is we're going to solve some quadratic equations by factorising. Let's get started with a fairly straightforward example, maybe a very simple one. We'll have, for example 1, x squared plus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now if I factorise that, I'm going to go straight into using the brackets to factorise. We'll have x plus 2 and x plus 1. And to apply the null factor, then what I do is it means that either x plus 2 is equal to 0 or x plus 1 is equal to 0. And in that case, x would equal minus 2 or x is equal to minus 1. There are two possibilities for the values of x that would make that equation, that quadratic equation, true. Let's have a look at the second example. X squared minus x minus 20 equals 0. If I factorise this, we'll have x minus 5 in the first set of brackets and x plus 4 in the second set of brackets. What that means is that applying the null factor law, then we'll have either x minus 5 equals 0 or x plus 4 equals 0. And that will give us two possibilities, x equals 5 or x equals minus 4. Alright, let's have a look at a third harder example. 2x squared plus 11x plus 12 is equal to 0. Now, I'm going to go straight into using two sets of brackets. If you would like to, then you can use the PSF method. But for me, I prefer to do this. So go straight into factorising. And I know that factors of 12 are 1 and 12. That won't help me get an 11x. 2 and 6. That also won't really help me get an 11x. Also, factors of 12 are 3 and 4, and that actually will help me get what I need, which is an 11x. I'm going to put the 4 here, and I'm going to put the 3 here, and we'll find that 2x times 4 is 8x, 3 times x is 3x, and 8x plus 3x will give me 11x. Okay, and if I apply the null factor, then what we have is either 2x plus 3 equals 0 or x plus 4 equals 0. And continuing through, we'll find that 2x is equal to minus 3 and x is equal to minus 3 on 2, or x is equal to minus 4. Okay, now what I want you to see is that there's a pattern that's occurring here. If we look in the brackets, in the first set of brackets, what I can do is to skip this whole section of working through the null factor, a pattern occurs. Now the pattern is this simple. I take the second number in the set of brackets and divide it by the first number, and then whatever that sign is, I take the opposite sign. So it'll be 3 divided by 2, and it'll be negative 3 over 2. If I do the same thing for over here in the second set of brackets, it's the second number divided by the first number, which in this case is actually a 1. And whatever this sign is, we take the opposite. So it'll be 4 divided by 1, and we take the negative. So we'd have negative 4 over 1, which we normally just write as minus 4. Okay, I'm going to do a more complex example next, and just skip the whole null factor section and go straight to applying this new pattern so that we can find what the values of x must be for the quadratic equation. 3x squared minus 4x minus 15 equals 0. I'm going to factorise that straight up by putting in two sets of brackets equals to 0. I know that I have to have a 3x and an x in the front of the brackets, and then the factors of 15 that are going to work best are plus 5 and minus 3. And I'm going to apply the pattern that I just pointed out before to find out what the values of x are. X is going to equal, we look at this number, the 5, and divide it by the 3, and we change the sign. So it'll be 5 divided by 3 and change the sign. Or we look at this number, the 3, and divide it by the 1, and then we change the sign. So it'll be 3 over 1, and it'll be positive 3 over 1. So we would normally just write that answer as minus 5 over 3, or 3. They're the two values of x that will make this true. Let's do another example, perhaps a more complex one. Alright, 6x squared plus 7x minus 20. Let's factorise that. Feel free to use the PSF method if you're having difficulties with these. The factors are 2x plus 5 and 3x minus 4. And applying this simple method of looking for the pattern, we see that it's going to be 5 divided by 2, and we take the opposite sign, so it's 5 over 2, and it'll be negative 5 over 2, or for the second bracket, it's going to be 4 divided by 3, and we take the opposite sign, so we'll have 4 over 3, and it's a positive 4 over 3. We've found out what the factors are for solving this quadratic equation. In this example, the really important point is that we always need to take out a common factor whenever possible. The common factor in this quadratic equation is 2, so we're going to take out that common factor. We'll have x squared plus 8x plus 12 equals 0. Now I'm going to factorise that quadratic expression, and we'll have 2, and we'll put some square brackets here, 2 lots of brackets inside the square brackets, equal to 0. And when we factorise that, we'll have plus 2 and plus 6. And what we find then is the solution to this, after we've taken out the common factor and then factorised the quadratic, is that x is equal to either minus 2 or minus 6. Okay, now it's time for you to get some practice doing all these types of problems.